This video will show you how to download historical data from an Aegis controller using a web browser. Here we have Internet Explorer open, so we will use it to connect to a Aegis controller. In this case, the address to the Aegis controller is aegis.aquatrack.com, which happens to be an Aquatrack demo that's live on the internet. So you can see that we have the Aegis controller view in front of us, and it's worth noting that to download historical data on an Aegis, there is no submenu or link that's on the view here that you simply click to download the data. You have to enter in a command up here in the address bar. So let's just get right into it. The address to download historical data goes like this. You enter the address of the controller, then a slash, then taco.cgi, question mark, F as in Frank 0, stands for field 0, equals CL. That's the command that downloads data. CL stands for communication log. Then we enter an ampersand to add another variable, which is F1, and this F1 variable is the password to the controller. So we'll use the default admin password for capital A's. Another variable that we'll need to use is field 2, F2, and that equals the IOID of the parameter that you would like to download. So if you want to download input A, or in this case connectivity, we would enter in F2 equals A being the IO's identifier. If we wanted to download relay 5, we would enter in number 5. So it's A through Z for all of your inputs, and 1 through 9 for your relays and frequency controls. We will download input A. So obviously the implication here is that the Aegis only allows you to download data one IO at a time. Okay, another variable that is optional is field 4 or F4, which allows you to define how many data points you would like to download. If you do not include the F4 variable, the Aegis will give you all of the available data that exists in its memory. So I'm going to define 10 data points just to save time for downloading, and let's review this URL. First, we have the address to the controller. More often than not, you'll be using an IP address for the controller, not a domain name as we have here. And then we have to enter a /taco.cgi, and then we define our variables. We start with a question mark, and then F0 equals CL, ampersand F1 equals 4 capital A's for the password. Field 2 is the identifier for the input or output that we want to download. And field 4 is optional and allows you to download a certain amount of data points. So when you're done, you hit enter on your keyboard, and you see we have the XML data that came from the Aegis controller. You can see here in the N tag that we downloaded conductivity A, or input A, defined here in the I tag, which is ID. And you'll also notice that we downloaded only 10 data points. Each D tag represents one data point. The next step that you'll want to do is save this data as a file on your hard drive. Now we don't want to just select this data like that and then copy and paste, because if I do that, it will include all of these JavaScript navigator items here. We don't want that in our file because that will mess up the XML format. So the way to get this data easily saved on your hard drive is to right click on the web page and go to View Source. And you'll see the raw data, XML data, is opened up in this case Notepad. Your computer might open it up in some other text editor. And now I want to save this data. So I go to File, Save As, and I'll just save it on the desktop. I will call it Aegis Data Input A .xml. Now I can close that. Now on my hard drive, or specifically on the desktop of this computer, there is a file that has this raw data that can now be emailed to somebody or imported into some system. And so it's worth, you must remember that the controller allows you to only download one I/O at a time. So to demonstrate, I will now download relay 1 by changing field 2's variable to the number 2. Or, I'm sorry, relay 1 I said. So enter in number 1. And everything else can stay the same, assuming we want only 10 data points in this case. So now we're looking at relay 1. You can see the ID tag is 1. The name of it is inhibitor underscore 1. And we have 10 data points. And to save this, we right click on the web page, go to View Source, File, Save As, Aegis Data Relay 1. So now I have two files on this computer, one that has the data for input A, another one that has the data for relay 1. And that's it.